Hey, what's up YouTube? Steamtown Gamer here, and today we are rocking Resistance: Fall of Man. So this is one of the first games you could get for the PlayStation 3, so it's basically as old as you can get. I absolutely love this game. They made a series of them, 3 of them to be precise, plus a PlayStation Portable game. It is awesome. I wanted to get the PlayStation 3 just to play this game, so we're going to get into it now. New game. I went ahead and did a bit of gameplay myself. I went ahead and so I can really go through this game. Yes, I'm going to set it on easy. That is just simply because I want to speed up the game.
The Chimeran threat began in Russia. The origin of the virus is unknown, but its effects were devastating and swift. In the 1930s, reports of biological experiments began leaking out of Russia. Then reports of villages destroyed overnight. Then entire cities. We feared the Russians had developed a weapon of unparalleled power. The truth was far worse. The Chimeras stayed sealed within Russia for over a decade. Then, in 1949, they launched an attack that overwhelmed all of Europe in a matter of weeks. For several months we thought England was safe. But in October of 1950, the Chimera burrowed under the Channel. We had prepared for them, but in 3 months' time, the war was lost. We abandoned the cities to the Chimera and retreated to scattered military bases and outposts. The Chimera had won. On July the 11th, 1951, the Americans launched an assault on the eastern coast of England. On the second wave of that assault was a sergeant named Nathan Hale. The actions of that soldier have become a matter of both scrutiny and myth. What follows are the known events of his life from July 11th to July the 14th, the day he was last seen.
So obviously this is a sort of twist on history. The World Wars obviously did not happen, or at least World War II did not happen. Most of the world is basically fucked at this point. They've taken over, Russia, Europe, and the Americans, like the basic soldiers, have no clue what's actually happening. It's all been kept a secret. Only the higher ups actually really know what is going down. It's just pretty crazy. Right now we're going to go help England. We're going to go fight back.
The American soldiers had no idea what they would soon be facing. The US government had sealed its borders in 1950. Radio waves and newspapers became state property. Only the highest levels of their government knew the truth. The operation was an exchange. The Americans were bringing supplies and tanks into York. We were giving them our one secret weapon, something we could offer that they couldn't build themselves. I was the commander of the convoy team that was to meet the US soldiers. We were ambushed in Manchester on the way to the rendezvous. There was no way to warn the Americans. They were on their own in York, fighting an enemy they knew nothing about. We never learnt exactly what happened there. All we know is that Nathan Hale was the sole survivor.
So right now we're in York. What I hate about this game, it is a bit old. So now they didn't have the standard, controller settings. So up is now down and down is up. The controls are backwards essentially. This is obviously before the standard came in. But it's relatively easy to sort of adjust for it, and it doesn't really become much of a problem later on in the game. Just at the start, it may make a bit, it may be a little difficult at the start. Anyway, you can find this game for like dirt cheap at pretty much EB Games, eBay, stuff like that. Usually for under $10. It's probably one of the cheapest games you can get because it's been around for so long.
We've landed in it now.
He's the Chimeran.
Yeah, but what the hell is it? Take cover.
Carbon 1, this is 1-4. Multiple contacts. We've got nothing but flak here.
Harrington's down.
Those things on their back, these tubes, these glowing things. They're actually cooling system. And you see they're made from, they have 9 eyes. No, sorry, 6 eyes. That's because these things are, were they once human. They were once human, and now they've turned into that. These hybrid ones here, they are made of, you know, multiple humans squeezed together and put in some sort of cocoon to sort of hatch into those things. We're going to see a number of different types of these things, but this is the basic ground soldier. You got like the engineers, you got the heavies, things like that. So this had incredible online capability for the PlayStation 3. When was the first PlayStation 3 games out, the network was just incredible. It was free. It was awesome. But now the servers are dead. I tried looking it up. The servers have been down for a very long time. But I was kicking ass at the servers. I love those servers.
Get down before you lose your fucking head!
So he's rocking a certain weapon at this point in time. This weapon is actually a remake from their own technology. The US had been receiving a decent amount of detail as to what's going on, and had even adjust their own technology accordingly. This gun, like every other gun in the game, has a secondary function. This one launches little missiles. But yeah, every you know, human or Chimeran gun that you pick up does have a secondary function, a different type of ammunition. To go up. So now most of the people who are alive are in deep hiding. They're just hiding in their homes, businesses, hoping for like colonies to still exist, things like that. But effectively the Chimeran have won Europe. They've definitely run Russia, where it obviously started if you saw the opening cutscene. I should also mention their biology is extremely different. They are capable of metabolism, which is basically healing, 12 times faster than humans, which is why they need their cooling system. Apparently it's because they heal so fast that they generate huge quantities of heat. So they basically have to live in like snowy conditions. They're literally going to start re-terraforming the Earth soon. We find out in the second and third games, they build these like massive tower things, and they literally start to re-terraform cities, turning them into like, making it snow where, you know, snow wouldn't be, which is probably why they started off so well in Russia. It being, you know, mostly covered in snow. Waiting for my health to sort of recharge. It's not doing it because we haven't unlocked the self-healing thing. He won't start self-healing until he gets infected. That is a bit of a spoiler alert. He will get infected, but something about his DNA makes him different. Nathan Hale is genetically different. He is immune, or at least some kind of carrier of the resistance thing. So in the next game, a whole cure is going to be in the third game. A whole cure is going to be made and distributed to the general public, therefore making them immune to transforming into those. If you get infected, you will basically start to turn into them. But if they get a hold of you, they will try to transfer you into one of these hybrids or a soldier. These soldiers here were actually, you know, once Russian and European soldiers who got captured, or at least and civilians who got captured by them, and then forced to become these creatures. And they said these things are made from multiple humans, like compressed together. So that would explain the whole 6 eyes situation. Bullseye. Tap R2, the cycle weapons. Telephone. Telegrams, maybe. Telephoned. Okay, that's weird. I finally actually used the second ability of my gun. Quarantine. Contagious disease. I went the wrong way. So soon he'll gain the ability to sort of, regrow his health. He'll regenerate his health. Only 1 bar at a time, though. Yeah, it's been a very long time since I played these games, and quite frankly, I'm regretting the fact that it's been so long since I played these games. I mean, this is just bringing back so many memories of my PlayStation 3. I had the big fat one. It was pretty awesome.
Get back!
So, interesting story about the PlayStation 3 for me. Holy crap, I ended up saving one of the soldiers. He will basically die. Funny story, I put a PlayStation 3, my first PlayStation 3, on lay-by, and I was paying it off, and it was $550. It was the big fat one. I was so close to paying it off. I maybe had like $100 or so left. And then I found out that the thin ones, when the thin ones came out, they put my one on clearance. They had put my one, the fat ones, on clearance to like $250. No, $230 if I recall. And then, so what did I do? I took my PlayStation 3 off lay-by and just got the money refunded and then purchased it right then and there. So not only did I have a console, I had a shit ton of cash with me, and I went straight down to EB Games and I got this game. So this was my first PlayStation 3 game.
Sergeant Hale!
So we're not going to come across any of the health packs yet.
Come on, let's get to the depot. Double time.
Oh, we're about to trigger a cutscene shortly. We're going to find out how exactly the Chimeran can spread so easily. Here we go. So this is how they're basically capable of infecting entire cities, areas, things like that.
Captain, you seeing this? What the hell is that?
He was the last one to get infected.
No one knows exactly how Hale was infected by the Chimeran virus. Our only clue is a journal entry recovered from the body of a US medic. It says that he encountered a number of comatose soldiers in a dry creek bed. One of the soldiers, a sergeant, suddenly woke up. Unlike the other soldiers, his body had no wounds at all. The sergeant refused any kind of medical examination, insisting on catching up to the rest of the company. If that sergeant was in fact Nathan Hale, then he remains the only known person to wake up after being infected. Whether the Chimeran virus mutated within him, or whether his body had an innate resistance to it, remains a mystery.
So they said that they found a journal belonging to a body of a medic, and the only medic we see is the one that we're about to see now. So this is the guy that basically died, and they found the journal off of him. Obviously now Nathan Hale is in fact infected, but he had simply got up. The whole idea is they would infect you in many ways. Sometimes it would just be a simple infection, which would take time to develop. Sometimes it would knock you out completely. So these guys, this is like the basic way people get.
They told
This
me
is the
Arrow
medic.
2 was wiped out. Come on.
So they find the journal on his body. The whole idea is that these people are in a coma, and if they get found by the Chimeran, then they will be transformed into the hybrids that we see, the ones with multiple eyes. If not, they will basically transform into a different kind of Chimeran. They don't have the multiple eyes. They're just really, really pale, ugly teeth, ugly face, just overall ugly. So the Chimeran have a number of like biological weapons at their disposal. These things here, they obviously control them. There seem to be some kind of hive mind,
Hell are the Brits.
a concept of like multiple creatures working together.
Watch it. I got you covered. Come on up.
So, and that's where the soldier died. You could have saved his life, but he would only last until you get up about here, and then probably would have got wiped out by, you know, more of these things, or the Chimeran shortly. So there's really nothing you can do about these soldiers. They die so easily. They're like teenagers in one of those scary movies. There, that's what I was looking for, that bridge. So now he has the ability to heal himself. Now he won't regenerate his entire health. He will only regenerate one of those little blocks that we can see down there. If he takes damage, he will simply repair that little block. If you want to fill up the entire bar, you have to find these little health packs the Chimeran use. So we have to use the Chimeran health packs now. Once again, he is infected, but he is not going to turn. So these things here, they are the Chimeran health packs as well. He does have their healing ability to some extent. Well, I took way too much damage. Whoa. I'm going to have to go back and I'm going to have to go fill it up. There we go. It restores 25% of your health. Not much, but it will do. It should keep me alive a little bit longer until the next checkpoint. Yeah, this game just brings back so many good memories of the, me playing the PlayStation 3. This thing was state of the art at the time. You could fill a lot of games on like a 40 gigabyte PlayStation 3, because the original one, which I had, the fat one, was only 40 gigabytes. That's why I was taking so much damage. That asshole. He's dead.
This is Winters. Baker 1 approaching Kilo Road. 2 clicks from the depot. Who's near my position? Sound off. Baker 1, this is 3. We're moving wounded. It's slow going. Baker 12, we've got what's left of 5 and 10. Approaching depot from Romeo Road. ETA 10 minutes. God damn it, someone's gotta be around here. Where's Arrow? Arrow came in over the AA. They bought in the street. Perfect. All right, all Baker units proceed to the depot ASAP.
He's one of those guys who just doesn't talk throughout the entirety of the game, if I recall. But he will in this second game for sure. So yeah, they did stretch this game out over 4 games, on PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Portable. PSP.
King Cap to command. We've lost King 6 on Kilo Road. Roger, King 1. You'll have to find it.
This part is always fun, and not only that, this is just the only time we get to do this. There's a couple times in the game where we'll actually get to drive another tank.
Baker 12 to Baker 1. We're at the depot. There's too many of them, sir. We can't take the depot without armor.
That is the bus depot. It is a perfect spot for what's it called? Air support. Those whirlybirds. So that was going to really come in handy if we get that up and running. Now we can see that these things sticking in the ground. I'll point them out as we get a bit closer. They're called spires. So these things here, this big thing sticking out of the ground, as I said, that is a spire. Essentially, where those little bugs came out that infected all of us, they pour out of these things. They release tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of those things. And they just flooded the entire area, infecting everyone in the area. And then the Chimera go in, they go ahead and start, picking up people and taking them to special areas where they can be sort of concentrated and turned into more of their soldiers. So that's basically how they're winning.
The Americans regrouped at an abandoned bus depot in southeast York. Under the command of a Captain Winters, they staged a daring tactical offensive. The Chimera had begun to close in on their position. If the Americans could secure the site, they would have a perfect landing zone, and the battle would tip in their favor.
So this bus garage was one of the levels you could play in the game. For the online versus, this was really good because you could have like 16 people in this area, and it was a small area, so it was just like non-stop killing each other, which I really loved because of the bigger maps. It's like
if we can hold it, we'll get some reinforcements.
You know, the chances of finding people, you don't get as many kills as you would in this much smaller space. It was just full on. It didn't matter how bad you were, you're guaranteed that you're going to get a decent amount of hits. So the bus depot was basically the favourite, and quite frankly it was my favourite as well.
Look alive, Stevens!
We have to take out the turrets. This guy. So another interesting fact, when I would play this, I would create my own room, which was basically I could, you know, I created the bus depot in regards to, I set the levels for it. I said it was one-hit kills, you know, with like a specific weapon, usually like rocket launcher or something like that, or a grenade. That way you could get, you know, you could level up the amount of kills you wanted for that weapon. Or if I recall, you got badges as well. You know, killed 25 people with the carbine, and you get a badge, and then you get another one if you killed 50 or 100. So the concept of, you know, making one particular gun only accessible really sort of bounced up those numbers. Anyway, what I was getting to was I started one of these maps. It was the bus depot. I believe it was something along the lines of, you know, one particular weapon, maybe a bullseye, maybe the rocket launcher. I don't know. I can't remember. But what happened was I went to bed. It was late at night. I went to bed. And then the next day when I had lunch, after lunch, I was like, okay, I'll jump back on. This one looks familiar. It's got a similar name to that I actually named this map. And it turns out it was the exact same map. It turns out if people still want to play that map, it will survive. Essentially, as long as it's got hosts, it will. As long as it's got people playing it, it will still survive. So it basically went on for like 15 hours, as far as I know. Like, yeah, the next day, over 15 hours, maybe closer to 20. That map was just still going, and then basically shut down. The map, you know, cancelled itself if no one wanted to play. But it just meant that every round, people were playing, people were joining in. That's basically the kind of atmosphere this game was. It's just so many people crammed into the servers. It was awesome, but it does suck now that the servers are down. What I wouldn't give to play this game online again. Oh, it was so awesome.
They're shooting the shit out of us!
I've broken in again. So the carbine is obviously the human's best choice of weapon, and for these guys it's the bullseye.
We're not gonna leave the armor anything but scraps station! Wake up, ladies! We got more company! Hustle at the fuel station! 9 o'clock!
Shit! Shit!
I'm lighting up the sky here. Oh damn it. Last block of health. See if I can find any more. Aha!
Echo Price!
That was a bit too much.
We're getting hit! Hell yeah! Sarge, look out!
Now I have to go around.
Grind them out, Friendly! Don't you stop until this square's full up to your eyeballs in shit and spinal fluid!
Shit! Taking fire! Woo-wee! Tighten it up!
And the cavalry's here. Perfect timing.
I think backup. Yes, this is the end. Alright, so we did it. That was pretty sweet. We're going to go ahead and see what happens
We might just
now.
hold this little piece of
Trigger on
heaven.
cutscene, and
Bring those tanks in here and scrape out a
I'm not going to
landing
give
zone.
away the spoiler, but
Incoming!
We know from the craters that the Chimera ended the battle by launching spires. There is no defense against a spire attack. By the time you see them in the air, it's already too late. After impact, the spires release swarms of crawlers. Literally thousands of them can come from a single spire. Whole cities have been infected in minutes. After the crawlers have done their work, the Chimeras send in carriers to collect the dormant victims. The role of the carriers is to transport infected humans to conversion centers. It's at these locations that the Chimeran creatures are born. Hale was brought to a conversion center in the town of Grimsby. My convoy team and I were imprisoned at the same location. We had been captured uninfected, so we were put in makeshift pens until they could infect us.
so Nathan was essentially knocked out again. He got hit with another dose of the virus, of course, because it's not just a virus that knocks you out. It's something about those little insects. They knock you out, but of course he's immune, so he woke up considerably early. Not only this place, but they also put up other people there. What's it called? People who don't actually get infected in the field, like prisoners of war. They just sort of throw them in there as well. This is where we're going to come introduced with a new character who basically becomes a big part of the game. So these guys here, as you'll notice, they don't really have the full-on what's it called? The full-on cooling units as the soldiers. These aren't made of multiple people. These are just simply someone who became infected and never actually got taken to one of these camps. So this is just what the standard infection looks like. Hey buddy. Just ugly face, but you know, they're not compressed of multiple people. So this was a fish cannery that, of course, they converted into one of these places. They would do that with a number of buildings. They would just start using our resources, even our own power supply, as their own, power supply itself. So these Chimeran, I mean, they work ridiculously well. I mean, they've come from space. They have their own homeworld, but they've like reached the pinnacle where they don't really evolve anymore.
Oi, mate! Over here! Over here! Help us! Get us the hell out of here!
Hey! Over here! The console! Shoot the console! Bloody hell! Thanks for that. I'm Parker.
Hey.
So she's the one doing the narrating.
An American. We thought the Chimera stopped all of you in York.
Chimera?
Those creatures. Oh, you jammed it. I'm sorry, Hale. Looks like you'll have to find your own way out. I'll be in touch. Frequency 77.6. It was strange enough that a lone American soldier was walking around a Chimeran conversion center, but it was his eyes that were most disturbing. They showed unmistakable Chimeran traits. It was subtle, but it was there. Whoever Nathan Hale was, he wasn't entirely human.
Alright YouTube, I'm going to make this the end of the episode. Like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Leave a comment about anything about this game. Maybe even a personal experience about this game that you have. Any tips, any knowledge about it, what game you think I should play next, blah blah blah. Alright YouTube, catch you later.